The Assassin's Creed franchise has many problems. You can't play 5 seconds without glitching, you gotta do the same missions over and over again, there's some cheap microtransactions, and there's no nudity in these games. But as someone who's been playing Assassin's Creed games for over half of my life, and almost since the very start, I am a huge fan of the narrative in these games. I know more Assassin's Creed lore than I know actual historic facts. Like for most people, George Washington was the father of America and a slave owner. But to me, he's the guy who betrayed my boy Connor and a slave owner. So I care a lot about these games and the stories. And for the past many entries, I just haven't. The last time I was truly hyped to play an Assassin's Creed game was 10 years ago with Assassin's Creed Unity. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy any game since then. Origins is one of my favorite games in the series. But overall in the series, the grounded narrative of just going after the bad guy has kind of just been straight up trash. The bad guys used to be villains who personally hinder the life of the protagonist. And now the villains are just these powerful people. And that's it. Like every game is just take down the Illuminati simulator. And it's like, god damn man. Eventually I gotta give up taking down these people. Because they just get stronger every game. And less interesting every game. So I thought I would just pinpoint the good and the bad when it comes to Ubisoft's intentions. And how this is at least one of the biggest problems in the series. And how they can easily fix it. Now Ubisoft earlier on have always done a good job of making villains feel evil.
No! In nome di Dio! Mi scongiuro, pietà! Nessuno attacca! Cane maledetto! Muori! 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 Your day is done, Lorenzo! Your entire family dies by my sword!
Now a lot of people say making villains pure evil is not as engaging as making them have like a full plan and be more calculated. Characters like Thanos and Eren Yeager, they're pretty good examples of this. They aren't pure evil, they are just doing horrendous things, but in their logic, the ends justify the means. Which by the way I don't agree with. Whenever I say the ends justify the means, I'm talking about disciplining my child or something, not eliminating half of the population. But overall I don't think there's an absolute need for these villains to be calculated or morally complicated. So someone like Francesco, he is fine to me. And there's plenty of other characters from other universes and other franchises who are also great in this way. Fate from Dune is a pretty good example. But there's no doubting that people love villains who are calculated and got a giant ass plan. Including me by the way. People love villains who betray the protagonist and manipulate people who are in their way. And that's why Assassin's Creed 1 fans absolutely love that game.
I've witnessed many betrayals in video games, but none were as effective as that of Al-Mualim's from the first Assassin's Creed. This was a defining moment for the first game, setting the stage for the future titles in the series. It was easy to trust him because he was our mentor and leader, so when Al-Mualim revealed his true nature, it was a punch to the gut. We had been following his orders, doing his bidding, and for what? To serve his own twisted agenda? It was a moment that made us question everything that we thought we knew about the game's world and its characters.
So that whole calculated, manipulative villain is a sexy ass trait. So Assassin's Creed 1 definitely didn't have a villain problem. And this is coming from someone who was an Assassin's Creed 1 hater. Now hate might be the wrong word, but I think that game is mid as hell. But the climax for the villain was good. So it's clear that a lot of people who played Assassin's Creed 1 were like, yeah, Ubisoft knows how to write villains. And when Assassin's Creed 2 dropped, it was like these sexy villains on steroids. Rodrigo was the main villain, but there are so many other satisfying deaths in this game.
You would have done the same. To save the ones you love.
Yes, I would. And I have. The Auditori are not dead! I'm still here! Me! Ezio! Ezio Auditore! Is this what my father discovered? Is this why he was killed?
I'm sorry. Were you hoping for a confession?
Pezzo di merda! Vorrei solo che avessi sofferto di più! Hai avuto la fine che meritavi! Spero che Enough, Ezio! Show some respect.
Like they had it logged down in AC2, and then AC Brotherhood came out, and it's like damn, the hell happened here? And we're not talking about Cesare. He was definitely good, not as great as people say, but he is definitely like a B tier villain, possibly even A tier. Like he's got it all. He's got the evilness, he's got the dumbassness, and he's got the incest part all locked down. If you think about it, Cesare is basically a mixture between Jaime Lannister and Joffrey Baratheon from Game of Thrones. Like, he's definitely got the entitlement of Joffrey, if not even more of him.
I will lead mankind into a new world.
Che nessuno ricordi il tuo nome. Requiescat in pace.
You cannot kill me. No man can murder me!
But yeah, the rest of the villains in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood were pretty goddamn mid. They had nothing going on for them, but because I'm mainly going off the main villain, I'm gonna let this one slide. And then we got Assassin's Creed Revelations, and the main villain is Prince... whatever the fuck. Prince Aladdin, I think his name was. I literally just made my Assassin's Creed Revelations video, and I still forgot that dude's name. That's how ass this motherfucker is, man. But yeah, this was Ubisoft's first big L for villains. Assassin's Creed Revelations by itself is one of my favorite games of all time, but I can only really remember one cool thing that this receding hairline looking villain did.
First, the girl. She's all yours.
Sophia!
And then we get Ubisoft's best antagonist for an Assassin's Creed game. Hate them goddamn Kenway.
You are my son after all, and might still be saved from your ignorance. I can kill you now, if you prefer.
Hatham is by far the best antagonist in an Assassin's Creed game. He literally is technically in 3 games, and is arguably the centerpiece in the Kenway saga. Which is crazy because you only play with him for the first few hours, but he is so good in Assassin's Creed 3. I'll get to why that is later on in the video, but not only did Hatham knock this role out of the park, but a lot of these villains did. I mean, you got Charles Lee, who turned around to be a complete bad guy. When you first meet him, it's like, thank you sir for helping me with my bags. And then this guy drops the most racist remarks in human history to an 8-year-old. It's like, god damn it, man. Is it Charles Lee or Vince McMahon? And he's not the only one who is amazing in this game. You got Thomas Hickey, he smashes bartenders, he's powerful, he's a drunk, he's what I aspire to be. And this guy's probably better than every villain we had in the last 10 years. Like, he made me want to punch my screen.
First we bind you and bring you to your cell. Then tomorrow, you go before the court, accused of plotting to kill good old Georgie. Maybe we could pin the murder of the warden on you too. You did kill him after all. Once that's all squared away, well then.
Not only did I want to take Thomas Hickey down for Connor, but I also wanted to take him down for Hatham. Even though Hatham is Connor's real villain, I have so much respect for Hatham, to the point where I got pissed at Thomas Hickey for not having that same respect for Hatham. So that's how you know you got a real good villain on your hands. And he's still not the only one. We also have Benjamin Church. They made him really interesting, and they put him in the first few Hatham and Connor duo missions, where Hatham and Connor are like the Shaggy and Scooby-Doo of the American Revolution. So they nailed Ben Church as well. And I'm gonna be honest, I really love John Pitcairn too. I understand why a lot of people didn't, but the mission with Pitcairn were some of my favorite of all time, and the dialogue of his death is some of the best dialogue in Assassin's Creed history. It got 10-year-old me thinking about stuff that I don't even know about.
They must lay down their arms. They must stop this war.
Why them and not the Redcoats?
Do you not think we asked the same question of the British? These things take time. And it would have succeeded had you let me play my part.
Part of the puppeteer.
Or better, we hold the strings than another.
No, the strings should be severed. All should be free.
And we should live forever on castles in the sky. You wield your blade like a man, but your mouth like a child. And more will die now because of that.
So needless to say, Assassin's Creed 3 has the best antagonist of the entire franchise. I know AC3 gets a lot of hate, but I don't care. I love this game so much, and the villains of this game are what really makes this game smoke out 10 of the Assassin's Creed games. At least. Come at me, bitch. And then we get Assassin's Creed 4. Now the final big bad guy of this game is pretty underwhelming, but the mini villains are pretty good. Not all of them. Most of them are not as strong as the AC3 villains, but a lot of them did have some strong character moments and pretty good deaths.
What have you done since Nassau fell, huh? Nothing but murder and mayhem.
You flew in with the very kind we once hated!
Again, Assassin's Creed 4 villains are a little off and on, but all the other characters like Blackbeard and Otto Wally were so peak. But overall this game did have pretty punchable villains, but definitely not perfect. But let's see if Ubisoft redeems themselves with Assassin's Creed Unity. Spoiler alert, they did not. Unity's villains are someone tells you the name, you do research on their name, you find out they're a Genshin Impact fan, and you're like, god damn, I gotta kill this motherfucker, man. And then you do. And that's it. German was also really forgettable, and this is coming from someone who has hundreds of hours on Unity. I literally hit Legend Assassin status on this game, on 2 different accounts. That's how much I love this game. But the villains were just terrible. And then we have Syndicate, and my god, this was the worst thing ever.
I'm not gonna lie, Sterek is probably my least favorite villain in the entire series. I say it so much, but the guy feels like a villain ripped straight out of a cartoon. Never mind the fact that he actually looks like one, but he's just so laughably evil that I could never take him seriously. He shoots one of his own henchmen for interrupting him while mournfully playing the piano. The game tries to make him feel like this big, evil, intimidating villain who controls London and is pulling all the strings. I mean, the game literally straight up tells you this in an exposition dump when you start the game. He's so over the top and ridiculous that I could just never take him seriously. He's like a knockoff version of Cesare.
It was just so boring. The game is kind of underrated, but definitely not the villains. That's kind of it for Assassin's Creed villains. After Syndicate, Ubisoft stopped making real villains. They instead make these villains a group of people, and they all got the mask on, and they don't really have like a personality. They are just placement villains. Origins did have 1 or 2 good ones, and for the time I played Valhalla, it had some okay ones. Assassin's Creed Mirage's villains were some of the worst gaming characters I've ever seen, and it was bad, man. Truly sad to see. Because Ubisoft outside of Assassin's Creed has made some amazing villains.
Okay? You have a fucking problem in your head. Do you think I'm bullshitting you? Do you think I'm lying? Fuck you! Okay? Fuck!
Now I've said this in my Hate Them video a few months back, but the main reason why a lot of these villains suck major ass is because we barely get to see them. I mean, let's just compare Crawford to Hate Them. With Hate Them, you get 2 hours of gameplay where you literally play as him. You even see him when you get to play as Little Connor, so the story is literally building him up. He then jumps you in a church. Not sure how long he was waiting up there like he was Batman, but whatever. And then you have 3 hours of gameplay where you're just Batman and Robin doing missions with him. And then you get to his ending, and it's phenomenal. He's also in Assassin's Creed Rogue, building the Order and achieving his goals, and he's also in AC4 for a bit. And then you got Crawford Sterek, who you see like once every 3 hours, where he's just being weird as hell. Like, I don't want to see Crawford playing the piano and jerking himself off in his mansion. I want my character to talk to him and jerk off with him in his mansion. Stuff outside of that really takes you out of it, and you don't really get their intentions. Like, to this day, I can't really give you Crawford's real intentions for his perfect world, but I can give you Hate Thems because he literally says it to the protagonist in the most beautiful and in-character way possible.
What is it the Templars truly seek?
Order. Purpose. Direction. No more than that. It's your lot that means to confound with this nonsense talk of freedom. Time was. The assassins professed a far more sensible goal. That of peace.
Freedom is peace.
Oh no. It's an invitation to chaos.
So I honestly think just giving the antagonist more screen time would just be enough. The second thing Ubisoft needs to give them is an actual arc, like an evil arc, where they start off as a poor villain, and down they become a rich and powerful villain. Or they start off as a good guy, and they turn into the bad guy. Too many times in Assassin's Creed, they literally just stay the same. Like even good villains like Cesare. Like I honestly think the best villain since the PS4 era is Bellic. He doesn't really have like a full evil turn, but he has so much depth when he was turning into our enemy.
We're not a nation. We're an army. And in an army, making peace with the enemy is called treason. No, I'm not the only one that can save the Brotherhood. We can. Together.
I really hope in Assassin's Creed Shadows and in future games they fix this problem. I really hope we get a game where we can actually play as the villain, like obviously in Assassin's Creed Rogue. And yeah, for those wondering, I didn't include Assassin's Creed Rogue on here because in that game you literally play as the villain, or at least kind of the villain, so he definitely isn't like a real bad guy.
No!
Why not?
Achilles is harmless now. A mentor with no followers. What kind of world are we making if we cannot show mercy?
But overall, I really hope Ubisoft gets their stuff together, man, because it is by far the thing that takes me out of the franchise the most. But yeah, that's it for this video. Like, subscribe, and peace.